Hey, what's up, everyone? I want to do a follow up video on philosophy and approach to chess. And I think it's important that every player have an overriding philosophy or approach to the game. So, what do I mean by that exactly? Well, there are different styles that you can play. Excuse me. So you can choose to be an attacker, for example, like a player like Tal, right? Or Frank Marshall, um, back in the early 1900s, right? You can choose to be a positional master like a Capablanca or a Anatoly Karpov, right? What else? Universal player, like a player like Spassky in his heyday. All right, there's different styles of play. Oh, yes, a theorist also, like a Botvinnik or Ulf Anderson. Players like that come to mind, right? Robert Hubner, right? Um, these overriding approaches to the game, and you can tell because when you mention these players, you automatically think of that particular style. When you mention Tao, you don't think end games, although of course he knew how to play end games. How are you going to become a world champion without being proficient in all aspects of the game? But what it is that these players have one aspect that um, dominates all the other aspects, right? There's one aspect, stands out in front of everything else, right? And this is their overriding philosophy or approach to the game. Same with the Gary Kasparov. Of course, he can play end games, and of course, he can be a positional player if he has to. And there's many games where he shows those abilities. However, when you think of Kasparov, you think of precision, right? You think of theory, right? Opening theory, getting an advantage out of the opening, and playing really, really precise, putting a lot of energy in a position and attacking. So we're gonna talk about approach today. We're not doing any analysis, just approach. The first example I wanted to use was this Tal-Botvinnik 1960 World Championship match, and also the rematch in 1961. And the reason why I chose this particular match is because there's a great contrast in style, so it's easy to see. Tal, as we know, is a great attacking player, very fierce. If you watch Tal through the candidates leading up to the World Championship match, I mean, it was like he was just throwing the pieces on the board, and they were just landing on the right squares, and he was winning. He was just like a storm. From 1957, from the I think he won 3 Soviet championships in a row, which is very difficult at the time because if you know anything about the Soviet bloc, there are many nations in the Soviet bloc, so it wasn't just Russia, right? You had Georgia, Latvia, Estonia, all. So we had players from all over the Soviet Union, and he won 3 times in from 57, 58, and 59, I believe, and then he challenged for the world championship in 1960, and he was a brilliant attacking player. Botvinnik, on the other hand, was more like balanced, if you would say. He was a theoretician. He, of course, he could attack. Like I said, when I say this, I don't mean that players can't attack or this and that. It's just that when you look at Botvinnik's games, there's more of a balance, right? Does one thing stand out to you about Botvinnik, right? Besides him winning the title a bunch of times, no. It's just that if anything does stand out, it's what my old coach Udasin told me. Is he said Botvinnik is the guy. If you want to study plans and planning in chess, you look at Botvinnik's games. So that's another video down the road. But Botvinnik was like the planning master. Another guy like that is Max Erva. Is really good at making plans that you can follow, and this is probably because of their professions outside of chess. I think Botvinnik was an engineer. Erva was a mathematician, so that makes sense. So the approach here from Tal, of course, is tactics, chaos on the board, right? Just create imbalances and make the game as chaotic as possible, and waiting for his opponent to make a misstep, right? Because Tal's great strength was, of course, calculation. Botvinnik wants to avoid this. In the 1960 match, he's not able to, right? Tal is just too strong. Tal is 23 years old at the time. Botvinnik's getting a little older, and he's not able to deal with this this whirlwind. So this is game one in 1960. You see Botvinnik trying to, keep it closed. He wants to play, closed position and try to slow down the attacker. This is like a well-known method to try to deal with aggressive players. Is bog down the position in the hope that they overextend themselves in order to try to attack. So knight c3. Then you have this win hour variation e5. So the position takes on this closed nature. a3 from Tal. Right? And now here, Botvinnik is black. Plays f5, queen g3. And then he plays this poison pawn variation. Okay? Queen takes g7, rook g8. Queen takes h7. C takes, game continues, and I'm just going real fast because we're not looking at the analysis, so to speak, or the game, but more or less the approach. And you can see this position is pretty chaotic, right? The imbalances all over the board. Black is not fully developed. White is not really developed. Actually, black has a lead in development, but the position is open up. This position is right up Tal's alley. Okay, a player. Like I wouldn't want to play in this position from either side. I would just avoid positions like this. Game continued. Knight g6, knight e2, and now Botvinnik played d3. Probably better with just d takes c3, but again, we're not going to get into the analysis. And you can see Botvinnik is almost trying to play like Tal here. Like he's attacking, right? He has his pieces out. He has a superior lead in development. He's doing the right thing. Right, but the position doesn't really fit with his style, so to speak. Knight c6, d4, queen c7, and now Tal starts pushing this pass pawn up the board. Gets the rook in. Now rook e3, king d7, getting out of this pin. Knight f4. Okay. Bishop c6, queen d1, and Tal actually went on to win this game with the white pieces. But the point that I wanted to make is that and of course, errors were made, but the point I wanted to make is that the position is more conducive to Tal. All right, so Botvinnik had to go and figure out. Of course, he didn't figure it out in the 1960 match. He tried, the seconds and things like that. He just could not figure it out, and Tal was able to beat him handily, and Tal was healthy at the time too. We all know that Tal suffered health problems, but I just wanted to show you the type of position that made Tal's day. These positions that look like extremely chaotic, right? Nobody's castles, isolated pawns everywhere, heavy pieces everywhere, and notice too that the queens are on the board. All right, so when you're looking for your approach in chess, are you this type of player? Do you like that type of position? You have to ask yourself that and come, find a conclusion. Is this your type of, is this your cup of tea right here? Right? You have to ask yourself that. And I'm having tea right here. Thanks to my beautiful girlfriend. And you have to ask yourself, is this your type of position? If this is not your thing, right? You might not want to pick this type of approach, or you might like to attack, but you don't want to go all out like crazy attacking. There's different levels of attacking, right? You might not want to have just chaos this is what I call chaos, like all across the board, right? You might be the type of player where you want to be attacking, but you don't really want your opponent to be doing too much. In other words, you want to hold down that counterplay, all right? Tal was the type of player that he was so strong in calculation that he didn't mind you attacking back, because he's gonna out calculate you at some point. You're gonna make that mistake, and then he's gonna hit you with a blow. Here, of course, Botvinnik resigned. Let's move on. And I hope you see where I'm getting at. And it's good to look at matches too, because matches, the players are gonna have the same approach throughout the match, unless something really goes wrong and a player is forced to like switch up his style. Say he loses 2 games in a row or something like that. But normally during a match, they're coming in with the approach and they kind of stick with that, right? Don't get caught up in the openings, right, so much, but look at the positions that in the pawn structures that arise on the board. Again, we're gonna go to this is game 3 right here. Just a quick example. Actually, I'm gonna move to game 6. All right. I know you guys can see the whole screen. So here Botvinnik goes for this English. This gives Tal opportunity to play King's Indian. But again, notice the position that's gonna wind up on the board. So King's Indian, we already know, very aggressive opening. Right up Tal's alley here. And along with the Benoni. And here you can see a little bit better, right? It's not, it's chaotic, but black gets his activity. So King H2, and here we go. There's Tal, right? Attacking again. Pieces everywhere, so a lot of pieces still remain on the board, and he's super active. Rook A1. These are like old notes too, by the way, so some of them might be wrong, but and Tal plays this move Knight F4, which is not totally sound, but again, that's not the point. Here it's just, I just want you to see the type of positions that arise on the board. So now we're gonna go ahead in time a little bit, and we're gonna look at Botvinnik's, from Botvinnik's side and the adjustments that he made, and I want you to notice the difference in the positions that arise on the board. Okay, before I do that, I just want to show you one more. This is game 17 of 1960. I wanted you to see this Carol Khan. So Tal is with the white pieces, and again, like if you didn't get the point, notice you see the rapid development. And again, I'm going really fast because I just want to get to this main position here. Again, wild position, opposite side castling. You see Tal throwing the pawns up at Botvinnik. Of course, Botvinnik has counter chances too. But again, this is what Tal likes, right? He believes that he's going to out combine, as they used to say, right? With the combinations, he's gonna out combine his opponent. Right, he's gonna be superior in calculating, which he was. So he would give counterplay. Right, you have chances against Tal, and again, this just shows the benefits of your approach in chess. And look at that, he sets up this beautiful battery on the B file, and just wait for it. Of course, tactical blow, game over. All right, I'll show you that one more time. Rook takes. Of course, he cannot take with the king. It's going to be mate. And if he takes with the queen, it's going to be mate, because let me draw some graphics here so I can look professional. If he takes with the queen, if he takes with the pawn here, the queen is going to come to B6 and then capture the pawn. Okay, so maybe I should just put that in. So rook takes H6. I didn't want to do any analysis, but okay, so queen B6, and the king has to go back here. Queen takes, and then when the rook comes over here, you'll see the rook on c8 is hanging, and that's the idea there. But again, the point is, notice heavy pieces on the board, chaos in the position. All right, now we're gonna fast forward. We're gonna step back into our time machine, and we're gonna look, from Botvinnik's side, right? There's two sides of every story. Remember, Botvinnik is the man, right? He's sitting world champion. He has to figure this guy out, right? How do I deal with this tornado? This whirlwind, right? This fierce attacking player. Let's see what happened. Okay, so now we are stepping out of the time machine. This is game 1 of 1961. Here's the rematch. Now, those of you who don't know, Botvinnik used to have rematch clauses, and hey, listen, this is the old Soviet regime, so there's a little gangsterism going on even in the chess world. So Botvinnik used to have these rematch clauses whereby if he lost a match, he didn't have to go through the candidate cycle and play all of these matches to earn a return shot at the title. He just said, hey, I'm former world champion. If I lose, I get a guaranteed rematch. So this is why he was able to come back the next year. Same thing happened against Vasily Smyslov. He lost in 57, I believe, to Smyslov, and then he defeated Smyslov in the 58 rematch. And I believe they also played in 1954, which was drawn. And, of course, he retained the title. All right. And the only reason why he didn't play Petrosian after losing in 63 is Botvinnik figured, hey, I'm getting older, and he gave it up. But he could have had a rematch if he wanted to. All right. But back to the task in hand. Game 1, 1961. Botvinnik has the white pieces. And now I want you to notice the contrast in these following positions in approach to what you have seen. So here's Botvinnik. He has to deal with wild man Tal here. All right. Knight f6, knight c3, e6 from Tal, d4, bishop b4. So Tal's playing his Nims on Indian. e3, bishop d3, d5. Some exchanges. Knight b5 from Botvinnik. So Botvinnik secures the bishop here. Botvinnik loved his bishops. If you didn't know that, he did love the bishop here. And now, of course, he's forces this exchange of queens. And knight g4, king e2, knight c takes e5. So now, what's the difference between what you just saw in those other games, right? You see that the position is much calmer here, right? Black has a nice position, and so does white. But it's not chaotic, right? White has the two bishops, which he preserves with the move d5. Of course, he puts pressure on the b6 square, so it makes it hard for Tal to develop. Therefore, c6, bishop e4. But this is a result of Botvinnik's preparation, right, for the rematch, right? He looked at all those old games, and he said, you know what? In order for me to defeat Tal, I'm going to have to steer the game, first of all, toward the endings. I'm gonna have to get these queens off the board, okay, and concentrate on end games, which was not, of course, like I said before, of course he could play end games. He wouldn't be world champion, but it's not his strongest point. All right, so he steered the game toward Tal's weak point. Also, Tal's health wasn't the greatest. Also, as he definitely played a little weaker in the 1961 match. Botvinnik definitely improved, but again, Botvinnik prepared. So you can't really take that away from him, because he did work to improve. And you can see this game is pretty quiet. Right, pieces are being traded off. Little compromised pawn structure for black there. Okay. Little weakness here, little weakness there. And next thing you know, there's a pawn. And just like that, Tal had to resign. But notice again the contrast in the positions. How quiet everything, how calm and peaceful that was, right? So got another one. This game, Tal actually won. Okay, because again, both players are trying to impose their wills on each other. I'm not gonna look at this game because I'm concentrating on Botvinnik, but again, Tal showed signs of like this chaotic approach when he was able to get it in. He was able to prevail many times. Some games ended in draws, but again, you can see again the wildness already on the board. Right, it's typical opening, but again, you can see pieces flying around the board. A lot of activity, chaos from both sides, favoring Tal. Botvinnik again with the white pieces is game three. Again, he comes out with this English. He does the same exact approach, except this time the position is more or less closed. He goes in for the similar structure, and you can see here, Botvinnik keeps teasing Tal. Hey, he's like, let's trade queens. And then finally, it's Botvinnik who avoids the repetition here. Offers trade the queens again. And again, in these positions where you think it probably should be drawn, he's able to take advantage of Tal's impatience here. Even here, right? Tal plays d3. He didn't have to play d3. I mean, e5 is coming. But the thing is again, Tal wants to be active. He sees he has a terrible bishop. E5's coming, so he rather sacrifice his pawn for activity, and that's what he does. He gets his bishop active, but it's not enough. And then Botvinnik's able to start attacking, and Tal resigned here again. All right, so that's just example of approach. Now, looking back on it, here's game 7. Looking back on it, I think that maybe Tal shouldn't have played the Nimzo, got away from the Nimzo Indian and maybe tried to go back to the King's Indian, but perhaps he felt, not adequately prepared enough in those lines because, Botvinnik just was able to shut him down in these lines. So, again, if you look at any other matches, maybe next time we'll look at Karpov and Kasparov, and we'll do the same thing. We'll look at the approach, each player, because we know Karpov was like more of like a boa constrictor. Kasparov was like more aggressive, like like a lion. And we'll look at the approach in the battle of ideas throughout the match. But hopefully these few games were enough to show you about approach in chess. And maybe next time we'll go over like positional player versus universal player, or so for instance, like a good match will be like Spassky. Matter of fact, Spassky versus Tal and candidates match, I believe 1965. Or you could look at two attacking players going against each other, like Tal and Larson. I can't even really call Larson like an attacking player. He was more like eccentric to me, but he played like weird, like offbeat, a lot of offbeat openings. It would be more on that line, like Tal and Vilimorovich. As far as attacker versus attacker, but again, looking at matches, you can really see the approach. And what I want you to know in this video is that you should definitely have some type of overriding approach. Not that you should stay like that for your entire life, but for certain periods of a time. Like, in other words, you shouldn't be playing, I don't know, you shouldn't be playing King's Gambit, against E4, and then against, against the Sicilian, just playing like, like something real passive. Like G3 or something, G3 Sicilian or something like that. Like, it doesn't seem like it goes together. You should have some kind of like cohesiveness, and same with the black pieces. You should have black openings that kind of fit the mold. This is why Tal played these openings like Benoni and King's Indian and such. and you even saw him playing the Dutch. At certain points. Now, of course, at that level, theory progresses, and it's hard for him to keep playing these same systems because like grandmasters figure out what to do, what to play, or they expect him to play it. He has to switch up, so that's part of being a professional. But for you and I, we can kind of pick an approach and say, hey, this is what this is the style I'm gonna play in. So for me, recently, I've decided like I'm gonna, just to broaden my horizons, I'm gonna just attack. I'm gonna play attacking games. So I went back and started looking at all of these games from the 19th century, Morphy, Anderson, all of these guys that people say, oh, they don't know how to play, they'll be rated 1900 today. And I've been using all of these old openings and playing Danish, King's Gambit, and if you saw my previous video, you saw several games where I'm playing pretty strong players with the black pieces in Latvian counter gambit and winning. And I haven't even showed you all the games. I can probably show you 9 or 10 games against players above 2,000. Me winning with the Latvian counter gambit, which is supposed to be a dubious opening, right? And I'm just playing these games because I'm just trying different approach. Like, hey, I'm just gonna attack, right? I feel like attacking, so I'm playing Latvian. I'm playing I'm playing King's Gambit. I'm playing Danish, Goran Gambit, right? But my approach is all across the board, black pieces and white pieces. So try that philosophy out. Like try to figure out like what is it that you're trying to do, and then analyze your openings and look and try to be more consistent. Okay, don't play like something that's real aggressive here and then something that's super quiet on this end. And also keep that in mind when you're playing against opponents because they have their approach too. They're gonna try to steer you into whatever it is they're gonna try to play, and that's the battle, as you can see with Botvinnik and Tal here. Tal wanted the wild game, and at first he was able to do that. Botvinnik made adjustments, and he steered Tal into these quiet systems. There you go, another end game. He just beat Tal, pretty easy, easily in the second rematch. Whatever the reasons were, that's not really that important, but it's just this is what we have on the board as a record. So anyway, I hope you like that video. Like, subscribe, check out the links below. I'm on chess.com, Lead Chess, Instagram, Twitter, and also please support my channel via the donation link below. And I'd love to hear your comments below on what you think and what's your approach to chess. And I think I'm going to do another video like this because I want to look at some more matches. I do have, if you look on my channel, candidates matches, where I have analyzed a lot of matches that you might not have seen, because I know a lot of people focus on world championship matches, but there were a lot of great candidates matches at the time. For instance, Larson and Tal, 1965, and Larson Tal, 1968. Korchnoi versus Tal, etc., 1968, a 65 cycle. So check those out also if you're interested. But I'm going to be doing some more matches talking about approach. And I think the next video I'm going to look at Karpov and Kasparov 1985. So thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys then.